Come aboard and let's jump in the time machine, not to the days of pirates, but to 2003, when the most iconic, most beloved season of Survivor aired, so we can relive the top 10 moments from Survivor Pearl Islands.
I think it's hilarious.
At number 10 on our list, we bring you Survivor Pearl Island's strangest showdown. Not in a challenge, but in camp. It wasn't player versus player, it was a man versus bird. And spoiler, the bird won.
I'm being dead serious. I will keep the machete and chop this thing's head right the f off. I'm not playing around.
Morgan Camp had many problems. Poor shelter, lost challenges, low morale, but nothing prepared them for the most unexpected invader, Pelican Pete. When a random pelican wandered into camp like it was just stopping by for a brunch, the tribe reacted with mild confusion, except for Austin.
I don't like animals. I've been bit by a couple animals, and the next animal that bites me will die. I have no problem chopping that thing's head straight off.
Austin, a former football player and perhaps the most physically imposing contestant of the season, was immediately ready to go full horror movie on this bird. Meanwhile, Rhino treated Pete like a lost puppy. He gave him a name. He gave him affection. Austin gave him trauma.
I'm going to sit there right now. I'm not playing around. He wants to sit on your lap.
It was the ultimate mismatch. Pelican Pete, a harmless, confused animal, and Austin, who was rapidly unraveling. He wasn't just scared of birds, he was scared of bugs, the sea, and apparently the game itself. Even his tribe mates were baffled. Rhino called it, Austin was just being an ass.
About a poor old pelican, and OT's just being an ass. There's no other way to look at it. He's just being an ass, sharpening a machete. That's the dumbest thing I've ever seen. In fact, I was embarrassed by that.
By day 17, Austin had mentally checked out. Pete had moved on, but the moment lived on in Survivor history. Not because it was ridiculous, but because it was a clear symbol of Austin's descent. He wouldn't quit for another episode or two, but Pete saw the writing on the wall. He flew away before Austin could. Moral of the story, if you're going to threaten a pelican on national television, make sure it doesn't look like it's handling the game better than you.
You know what? I can get loud too. What the f? I can get loud too.
I don't want to argue with you. That's what I'm from you. You're the one who wants to fight.
At number 9, we rewind to one of the most explosive early spats of Pearl Islands and the birth of a catchphrase. It's episode 3. Drake has been steamrolling Morgan in every challenge, and the tribe is feeling untouchable. Everyone, that is, except Sandra, who's one sassy comment away from going nuclear.
I said when we jumped off the boat the very first day, I had already landed on shore. He was still out there doggy paddling, so he's weaker than I am. But he gets mad.
The trigger, Jonny Fairplay, a clearance rack villain with main character delusions, decides that Sandra should sit out of the challenge because she's not the best swimmer. She disagrees loudly, publicly, and repeatedly. What starts as a simple strategic decision turns into a full-on screaming match about who beat whom swimming on day 1. You know, the episode they aired 2 weeks ago. The one with a boat and water and clearly unresolved tension.
So what makes you a better swimmer than me?
I'm not saying that you can't swim. I'm just saying.
Fairplay tries to argue he's not weak by doing verbal gymnastics that make zero sense. Sandra hits him with the line of the season before he can even finish. She reaches her boiling point and explodes with 7 words that echo through Survivor history.
You know what? I can get loud too. What the f? I can get loud too.
I don't want to argue with you. That's what I'm from you. You're the one who wants to fight.
And with that, Sandra Diaz-Twine, the queen of As Long As It Ain't Me, lets everyone know it can be her if you run your mouth too much. Fairplay retreats with a classic deflection. She's foolish. He says he doesn't want to argue, but by that point, Sandra has won. Not the argument, those were never the stakes. She wins because the world now knows she's not here for fake politeness, strategic gaslighting, or men who can't swim. Sandra doesn't just steal the scene, she hijacks the episode. And with one iconic line, she cements herself as not just a narrator, but a character who can dominate the edit with a single explosion. This wasn't the last time Sandra would pop off at a tribe mate, but it was the first.
Go.
Go, go, girl, go!
Yeah, Rhino.
Go, Rhino.
Bar down,
Michelle.
Michelle having no problem
At number 8, we sail into the treacherous waters of raw seafood smoothies. Drake's plan was straightforward, pirate logic. Michelle, who had bragged about being freakishly good at chugging gross foods, would pretend she was not. That way, if the immunity challenge came down to a tiebreaker, Morgan would pick her, thinking she was weak, and Michelle would easily outslurp their unlucky pick. Solid plan, very Rupert coded, very olden days Survivor, but you know what they say about the best laid plans of pirates and production assistants.
I don't really have too many problems with eating disgusting things. Actually, I don't really have a problem at all.
Hey, who's the least likely for them to think they eat?
Michelle gets up to face off against Rhino with a hideous blend of clam, octopus, and Jeff Probst's evil intentions. The cue was simple: look dainty, act nauseated. Instead, Michelle throws it back like she's in Cabo for spring break. No hesitation, no acting, no shot at the tiebreaker.
Go.
Michelle, go, girl, go!
Yeah, Rhino.
Good, Rhino.
Bar down,
Michelle.
Michelle having no problem.
So Morgan picks Sandra instead, who fights her way through re-swallowing like a goddamn warrior. But even Sandra can't rescue the tribe from Michelle's botched performance. Drake loses again. And back at camp, Jonny Fairplay offers the Survivor equivalent of a Yelp review.
But her freaking ego wouldn't let her do it. And that's what I feel about her ego right now.
Neither would her instincts, or the plan, or the one brain cell that should have whispered, "Girl, act a little." Instead, she gave Morgan no reason to pick her, only a reason to celebrate. Smooth move, Michelle. You earn Morgan's respect and Drake's vote.
Michelle, tribe has spoken. It's time for you to go.
Before we move on to our number 7 moment, let's hear from the Baron of bad taste himself, Mr. Jonny Fairplay.
I was checking out Russell Muscle TV. Holy moly! These guys grind out the coolest new Survivor content each and every week. It is the best Russell podcast. Does Russell Hantz even watch Survivor anymore? Check out Russell Muscle TV. Click that subscribe button.
Coming in hot at number 7 is the moment Morgan lost their dignity and a challenge in one gloriously unhinged sprint down the beach. It's the very first immunity challenge of the season. The task: haul a 400-pound cannon across a pirate obstacle course of fences, boulders, mud, and sand. Think historical reenactment meets CrossFit nightmare. The Drake tribe, all business, cannon parts flying, Rupert grunting like a man possessed, everyone giving 110%. The Morgan tribe already flailing, already losing, and then Austin's shorts fall down. Naturally, instead of, I don't know, pulling them back up like a functioning adult, Austin makes the bold, strategic decision to get completely naked. And just to make sure it wasn't a solo embarrassment, Savage and Rhino drop him as well. That's right, 3 grown men, full tilt, bare ass naked, dragging a cannon through the jungle.
We have 2 naked Morgan members, and they are not the guys anybody wants to see.
They better hope they don't lose their weenies out here.
Drake, still in the lead, looks back and sees the chaos, Michelle's eyes nearly falling out of her head. And Sandra, as always, says what we're all thinking.
I don't know what was going on with them. I wish their dinglings got stuck on a vine, or I don't know. That was just stupid.
And then, as if Survivor hadn't already hit the frontal nudity quota for the decade, the editors bless us with a lower third title card as Morgan stumbles behind. Subtle? No. But legendary? Absolutely. Despite the chaos, Morgan actually pulls ahead as Drake's cannon gets stuck in the sand. For one brief, horrifying moment, it looks like the naked guys might win, but the Morgan cannon, like the Morgan tribe itself, collapses under pressure.
Do you understand how the deals work, Lil? Shut up. Lil, if you give me immunity, I will take you to the final 2.
You thought she was just a crybaby in a scout uniform, and maybe you're right, but she was kind of a badass for about 5 seconds.
They're called squats.
Okay.
Aerobic.
At number 6 is Lil squatting to win immunity and rubbing it in Fairplay's face. In the final immunity challenge, $1 million is essentially within reach, and the final 3 are, well, not exactly athletic royalty. You've got Sandra, who's furious she can't sit out, Fairplay, who's likely still tipsy from the wine, and Lil, who's Lil. The challenge: classic pirate torture endurance. Stand on a tiny raft in the middle of the ocean. No sitting, squatting, or whining aloud. Last one up wins immunity and a spot in the final 2.
I think Lil just said, game on. I think Lil said, game over.
Sandra taps out first with a shrug. That leaves us with the most bizarre one-on-one showdown in Survivor history. A smirking sleazeball versus a sweating, fanny-packed Eagle Scout. Fairplay tries to cut a deal.
Do you understand how the deals work, Lil?
Shots up.
Lil, if you give me immunity, I will take you to the final 2.
Great work, John. Lil squats, Lil balances, Lil channels every ounce of moral superiority into her quads. And after nearly 3 hours, Fairplay crumbles. Literally, he wobbles, he winces, and then he belly flops into the ocean.
Lil wins her first and most important immunity. Nicely done, Lil.
Lil wins her first and only immunity and makes the most important move of the season, dragging Sandra, not John, to the final 2. And even though she was never winning $1 million, Lil did get to stick it to the pompous, sleazy Fairplay.
Why are you looking? You know where they are.
How the f did I know?
Because you probably did it. You're the one screaming them.
Because I'm screaming at him, I'm not talking to you.
At number 5 on our list, we have Sandra spilling the fish. After Rupert's blindside, emotions were high, especially Sandra's, who decided the best way to process her grief was to halt toss a full bucket of freshly caught fish into the jungle. Why? Spite. Plain and simple, nobody else gets to enjoy Rupert's fish if Rupert isn't there. But here's the twist. Instead of owning up to it, Sandra immediately weaponizes her rage, flailing dramatically and redirecting all suspicion onto Krista.
Why are you looking? You know where they are.
How the f did I know?
Because you probably did it. You're the one screaming them.
Because I'm screaming at him, I'm not talking to you.
It's the verbal equivalent of setting a building on fire and then yelling at the smoke detector. And somehow it works. Burton points the finger at Krista, John jumps on board, even Lil believes it. And that woman wouldn't lie to save a drowning Boy Scout. Krista denies it, obviously. She was off filling her canteen for all of 30 seconds. But the damage is done. She's suddenly the prime suspect in a fishy act of tribal sabotage she didn't even commit. Moving into more of the pirate theme, at number 4, we go back to where it all began. It's not a jungle, not a camp, but on a pirate ship full of confused, overdressed Americans thinking they were on their way to a photo shoot. It's the most chaotic opening twist Survivor has ever done. Jeff Probst struts onto the deck of the boat and delivers a line that instantly ruins everyone's day. The game starts right now.
You're going into this game with the clothes you have on your back. Just like if you really were shipwrecked.
The cast, some are dressed like they're heading to a Miami nightclub. Others are dressed like they're going in for the biggest corporate interview of their lives. And then, in a moment that makes you want to scrub your TV with Lysol, Jeff turns to Nicole and says,
Very cute strapless dress. I hope you're wearing something under that.
I was like, okay, well this is fine. You know, I don't have a bra on. I hope my dress stays up.
No buffs, no bags, no strategy, just vibes and ruined hair. And just when you think it couldn't get worse, Jeff informs them that they have 4 hours to buy everything they need to survive at a nearby village, with only $100 in local currency and a lot of confusion.
100 Balboas in here. That's Panamanian money. Behind me, small fishing village. You're in luck. It's market day.
So we're off to the races in high heels and wet slacks. Morgan and Drake are dumped in a town where no one speaks English, and the bargaining begins. Drake goes full pirate, Morgan goes full meltdown, Trish flirts, Sandra negotiates in fluent Spanish, and John tries to pawn his belt to strangers like it's a Brooklyn flea market. Meanwhile, Morgan is unraveling. Ryan gets lost and Austin offers this strategy gem to his female tribe mates.
That could help.
Austin, because you know, girls, we don't necessarily have to spend our money. With these old guys, they're really horny, so you can just show them your boobs. He didn't even know our names really yet.
And by the time they're jumping off the pirate ship, soaked, stunned, and still processing the trauma of losing their luggage, it's clear. This isn't just another Survivor season, this is Survivor Pearl Island. And they're not here to survive, they're here to suffer. And that's exactly what happens here at number 3 of the most iconic moments from Survivor Pearl Islands. Before he was a fan favorite, before he was a hero or a villain, Rupert Boneham was just a large, barefoot man robbing a bunch of confused people on a dock. The Morgans left their supplies unattended for 1 minute during the village scramble, and Rupert, he didn't hesitate.
Pirates pillage. Pirates steal. Pirates take advantage.
He stole their shoes and then smiled about it like he just saved a cat stuck in a tree.
All the little women's shoes the insoles, everything that I could find in there, I took.
Yep, Rupert stealing the shoes. That's it. That's the moment.
When I first saw the Outcast tribe, I was like, no way. And then to see Burton as their leader, he's so strong.
Pearl Islands was truly the first time anyone came back from the dead. And it wasn't Redemption Island, it wasn't Edge of Extinction, it was better. Dirtier, pettier, pirate-coded. Coming in at number 2 is the Outcast twist.
Your past has come back to haunt you. Come on in, guys. No way.
In a move so diabolical, it made Marquesas look like a church picnic. Probst reveals that the 6 players previously voted out Nicole, Michelle, Skinny Ryan, Trish, Burton, and Lil. They hadn't been sent home after all. Oh no, they've been marooned off screen. And now they're a 3rd tribe, competing against the 2 still in the game. And if they win, they vote 2 of themselves back in, and they receive immunity for the next round of the game. Lil is standing there like the final boss of a church camp horror movie. And Skinny Ryan, he's got a custom buff that reads "Die, jerks." Pearl Islands didn't just jump the shark, it sank the ship, looted the wreckage, and came back for seconds.
That was terrible. Horrible. Who would have thought they'd come back to haunt us?
This twist could have derailed the season, but it didn't. It turned the story on its head. It gave us Burton's revenge arc. It gave us Lil's entire post-merge breakdown. And most importantly, it gave us Lil in the final freaking 2. Not by climbing up from the bottom, not by playing the middle, but by literally being resurrected. And when the Outcasts beat Drake and Morgan in the 3-tribe challenge,
Gotta cross the finish line. Gotta have the tribe flag. Michelle's through. Burton's through. Ryan is through. The Outcasts defeat Morgan and Drake.
if you identify as even the slightest fan of Survivor, you must have known this was going to be the #1 moment. At number 1 is the dead grandma lie.
She died, dude. Did you get the letter?
Everyone gets a visit from home. Sandra sees her husband, Krista gets her fiance, Burton reunites with his mom, and John gets his childhood best friend who delivers a gut punch.
She died, dude. Did you get the letter?
John collapses in tears. His grandma was sick. She loved Survivor. She dreamed of seeing him win, but now she has supposedly died. The tribe is shattered. They hug him. They cry. They let him win the challenge without question, so he can have 24 hours with his buddy to grieve. And then...
My grandmother's sitting home watching Jerry Springer right now.
That's right, she's alive. John laid the groundwork from the very first episode. Krista and Sandra suspected something was off, but couldn't say a word without looking heartless. Before you punch Fairplay in the face, dive on into our video counting down the top 10 moments of Survivor All-Stars. We promise no grandmas were harmed in the making of that one.